Hello and welcome everyone, Lionheart here, and today I will be reviewing the Steelseries Apex Gaming Keyboard. Many thanks to Steelseries for sending this keyboard to me for review, as well as the Siberia V2 gaming headset, which a link to that is in the description if you want to check that out. But anyway, let's have a look at the beastie. Here it is, the Steelseries Apex. Now there's two kinds of Apex keyboard, the Apex that I have in my hand currently and the Apex Raw. The Apex Raw doesn't have as many macro keys and doesn't have the vast array of different colours for the backlighting. I think it just has white backlighting through it. But anyway, this is the Steelseries Apex. Lots of various macro buttons on the left hand side and along the top, along with the function keys. Along the far right you have media keys, pause, play, skip, and volume controls. And I always like keyboards that do come with volume controls. I do find that incredibly useful. The keyboard also does have two USB ports at the back, which is very useful. It is a wired keyboard. Don't have any issue. I find the trend with gaming peripherals, about 4 or 5 years ago, everything was going wireless because that was the craze. Now everything's actually coming back to being wired, except for the really high-end products. I actually don't have an issue with wired. I don't find that it, unresponsive or anything like that. And personally, if you have a bit of cable management in there, you're not going to have an issue with all those cables running around. So the Steelseries Apex. You have 5 zones of colour control, which I will show you how that all customizes, and you can change that easily with the Steelseries software, the Steelseries engine. But the actual keyboard itself, it has supposedly superior anti-ghosting, which means that if you can press up to 6 keys at the same time and it won't lock up. So that's useful, if you're getting into a bit of a firefight on something like Battlefield 4, you're going, I want to jump, crouch, and fly through the air at the same time. You can press all those keys, and it's not gonna, it's not gonna crash the desktop. As well, it also includes the anti-ghosting software through the Steelseries button here, which if you press that along with the Windows key, you'll disable the Windows key when you're gaming. Now, Steelseries have included this because a lot of the time, when you're gaming, you're frantically pressing keys, you might press the wrong one. Now, the actual key design is, on the Apex, is designed so that you don't slip off keys, but should you do that and accidentally hit the Windows key, which would normally tab you out of game or bring up the Windows menu, which could be life or death in a game, between difference between you being shot and you surviving. So if you press the SteelSeries button and the Windows key, then you'll disable that function while you're gaming, which is pretty useful. So nice little things. Obviously you could probably set up a key binding for that yourself, but kind of SteelSeries thinking for the gamer and typical things that tend to happen. We are clumsy sometimes and we press the wrong thing. I know I certainly do. So as I said, there's 5 active lighting zones. Some stats for you, I guess. 16.8 million colours that you can customise there. It's kind of got a full colour wheel, which again I will show you in a moment on the software. Here is how it looks in pitch black. Personally, I don't really game with all the lights off, but even still, at night time with just a bedroom light on or something like that, the illumination from the keys is pretty clear. It gives nice view, nice illumination to all the keys. During the daytime, you will probably see that the macro keys on the left, which range from MX1 to MX10, and then at the top left, L1 to L4, and then along the top, M1 to M12, aren't as bright as the main keyboard. Some reviewers have mentioned that they feel this is kind of an imbalance on the design, that they should all be the same brightness. Personally, I actually think this works well because it means that the brightest colours are the main key centre of the keyboard and the numpad, notably the arrow keys, and that's where you're going to be doing the majority of your gaming and key presses from. Back from the darkness into the light as such, the Steelseries, as you saw in that video in the darkness, has plenty of extra keys as well, notably the arrow keys, the left and the right. Obviously, that's for extra convenience, and Steelseries, again, thinking for the gamer. This keyboard is very much orientated around providing for the gamer, making it easier for the gamer to game. But obviously you can still type up a lovely Microsoft Word document. The number of macro keys, which you've seen and I've talked about already, there's 88 ways to win Steelseries say, and that's because there's 22 macro keys. Each of them can hold 4 profiles, total of 88 more ways to win. The keyboard is also programmable, so you've got a total of 504 programmable keys with all those different profiles in there. So if you are huge about your MMO gaming, you know, your macros, this keyboard really does cater to you. Already talked about that Steelseries key, which is useful for extra commands, and the layer buttons at the top, these macro buttons, switch between your different profile layers. There we go. Nice side shot. I really do like the side illumination. It doesn't actually glare out too much on the desk, but it does just look nice. And you also have that light. It does come round a little bit to the front there as well, which is nice. So there's really nice features across the board on the keyboard. You've got those media keys down the side, pause, skip, mute sound, volume up and down. Initially I actually looked at the volume up and down and I was like, oh, these brightness keys. No, they're not. They are volume up and down keys, but that's really useful. I really do like a keyboard that does cater to the media settings as well, which is really darn useful. So, we've talked about the actual keyboard itself, its design, all the various lights. Let's have a look at the software that comes with the Apex keyboard. So here is the Steelseries engine software. As you can see over on the left where the mouse is flying around, that says Apex keyboard. So that detects the devices can be used for a lot of Steelseries products, all of them that use USB connections. The Steelseries Siberia V2 headset that I've been sent to review as well, again linked to that in the description. That doesn't show up on here because the version that I've got is the jack connection, the 3.5mm jack connection rather than the USB version. But that would also show up here if it was the USB. But it means you can easily switch between devices and customization. But we're looking at the Apex. So as you can see, you can hover over all the keys. You can actually change whatever the key press is through this. Set up different macros, launch applications, text, or disable the key. So it's really useful. You can select each one. You can't select individual colors for each key. So you couldn't set like along QWERTY, one red, blue, yellow, green, orange, something like that. You can change the colours through 5 different illumination zones, which are shown up here in the Colours tab. So here we can see the current layout that I've got, the profile that I've got running: green, the blue, white, red, and yellow. And that obviously configs itself nicely to the keyboard below. So each of these zones is completely customizable, and you can change it to any colour you want through the colour pool here, which is really good. It takes a bit of finding actually to work out what colours work best. Personally, a full-on, you know, purple keyboard doesn't look amazing. I think it actually does work when you have all the areas in different colours. But quickly run down the various areas here. You've got the numpad area over here. Above that you've got this white block, which is the Steelseries logo, which you'll have seen in the night clip. That also changes the colour of the lighting at the side of the keyboard as well as the Steelseries logo at the top. So it does look rather fancy and nice, and I do like that. I do like the illumination on the side. Obviously you've got the top and the left, 2 more areas which are the macro keys primarily, as well as including the function keys F1 to F12. You can change the individual brightness of all these areas, although, as I've said before, I do believe that the macro keys are perhaps purposely slightly less bright than the rest of the keyboard areas, as kind of showing they are optional to a degree. But you can set the brightness for each area there, or you can control it through one big switch. You can obviously change up the various other layer zones. It offers you various ways to customize and control the keyboard. So that's pretty much it. There aren't many particularly complicated settings in that, which makes the keyboard very user-friendly. It's plug and play. You don't actually have to install this software to use the keyboard. Obviously, to configure the various colours, you will need to, and that should be provided through the Steelseries website. You just download the engine software. So let's look at the scores on the doors as such, and final observations. I really do like the fact that it has these USB ports at the back of the keyboard. It's always a pain if you don't have ports on the top of your computer to pull your whole tower out from underneath a desk or something like that to plug into the back. So that does really make it really useful if you want to plug in your phone or, you know, another peripheral something like that. Adding it in on the go is really useful. The ease of use, just plugging it in, letting Windows configure it for a couple of seconds, and then it's good to go. That's fantastic. I love plug and play when it works. The fact that you have to download the software to customize all the colors, I think that's totally reasonable, and it's a good system. The software as well, as I said, comes with that firmware fix update tool. When I had a little bit of problem with the language setting changes on the keyboard, just ran the firmware update, which took like 30 seconds, and my language settings were restored. So the fact that it includes a very useful tool to instantly fix and obviously give firmware updates to the keyboard is very nice. It means you don't have to go to the Steelseries website to get all that sorted, so that's fantastic. Engine software, as I said, located on the website, that's great too. The anti-ghosting, really good when you're getting into kind of a fight and you want to press multiple keys at the same time. You don't have to worry about it locking up, because the last thing you want to do is be like, I've got to be careful which keys I press now, because I don't want the computer to crash. I like the fact that you can disable the Windows key as well. It's kind of thinking for the gamer. We are stupid sometimes. We do press the wrong keys. We are clumsy, and we'll glide over the wrong key and press it the number of times I have. In fact, the biggest thing I've had to get used to with this keyboard is that the A key, compared to my previous keyboard, is slightly further to the right than the last one, so I've pressed caps a few times there. But WASD settings, pretty standard, easy access to shift and control, and for all your other FPS style buttons. The spacebar, as you'll have seen in the video, isn't as wide as some spaces, but it's bigger, so it means it gives you a bigger area to slam your hand on for jump or something like that, but it's not as wide. So again, if you're thinking of perhaps using this for extensive typing, not exactly the keyboard for you, probably stick off the gaming related keyboards for that sort of thing. The 5 different active light zones are very good, very nice and bright. Obviously those macro ones slightly dimmer, but they do, I feel, highlight the key areas where you need them. As I said, the design, nice and lightweight. I like the customizable feet and level at the back. So I'm going to give this keyboard a 9 out of 10. Can't really think of much to improve, but it is a pretty solid keyboard. Looking at the prices, it retails at £84.88 on the Steelseries website for the UK. It's $99.99 US dollars. So it's a pretty reasonable piece of kit. It costs a reasonable amount as well for a peripheral, but it is a solid design. I can't really see any weak areas in the design. It's nice and thin, and I like the fact that it gives you plenty of options to customize. So that's my review of the Steelseries Apex keyboard. Link in the description if you want to purchase one and have a look at more of the features on the Steelseries website. This has been a review of the Steelseries Apex gaming keyboard. I hope you've enjoyed. Please do remember to give the video a like, subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and comment if you've got any questions about the keyboard, or if you use it yourself, feel free to share your opinions on this piece of kit. As always, hope you enjoyed. Ciao for now.